Okay, I'm not in the food forest yet, but I wanted to show you some of the potted plants that I have. This is mosquito. This is a Jamaican cherry tree that I bought, and it is, I'm not planting it out yet because it is setting fruit. It's not going to focus, but it's setting fruit. This is a Pakistani mulberry here that I need to plant out because the leaves, mulberries do weird. The leaves start to look like that, and then they think, oh man, it's going to die. And then all of a sudden, it puts out new leaves. So, but I'm going to put those, I'm going to put that in the food forest. I need to do it soon. And here, this is like a little container wicking bed type thing. I did have some chive in here, but I've put those out in the garden. And I sprinkled some yellow pear tomato. They're about that big. They're not very big, but tomatoes don't really like Florida. Excuse the hawk going by. Tomatoes don't really like Florida, but the pear tomatoes I have some luck with. So we'll see what they do. I've grown them in here before, and they got pretty big and started producing. But this here was my poor rosemary plant. I was trying to go for a record size, and I didn't take care of it, and it died. So I'll have to redo the rosemary because we like to use rosemary. Here's an avocado I started from a pit. I may or may not plant that out because it looks pretty sad. And I've already got a couple avocado out there. And a tangerine that looks like it's going to bloom again. It's been blooming all the time, over and over again. And then here's a little tangerine that is set. I need to give it some support. Maybe I'll just sit it right there. There we go. Little tangerine, but you can see it's wanting to bloom again. It's bloomed multiple times. The hawks are loud out here, and we've got a lot of them. There's probably a couple going by right now. This red-shouldered hawks. Bear with me 1 second. I'm getting out to the garden, and I just mowed, so that's why you see grass everywhere. But here is my annual garden, which will be kind of an annual / perennial garden with some of the things I'm going to put in here. But got down here along these, I cut down some baby rain trees. If you don't know what rain trees are, just Google them. Golden rain trees. And they're pretty, but they're a pain. And I cut them down. I cut down some small ones because their trunks actually work pretty good as canes. I want to plant either some bamboo or some sugar cane so I can have canes, but for now this is what I'm using. I made these little bean teepees, and then at the bottom here I've got some yard-long beans. They're also called snake beans, also called asparagus beans, various names, but they do really well in Florida. They like the heat, and they like the humidity, they like the soil, they don't care, and they taste really good. They're easy to grow. And then I think right here I've got some of those yellow pear tomatoes coming up. Yes, I know I need to pull some weeds in here, and I'm just gonna get my hoe and hack it down. This is the bane of my existence in Florida gardening, is I just hoed it. Let me give you an example. So here's some more. I've got 3 of these bean teepees, so I've got 9 beans planted. I'm gonna plant more. That's just what I have for now. But let me give you an example. Right here, there's a little indention. I dug and planted, I hoed to get some of the grass cleared away, and I planted some Seminole pumpkin. And it's not really time for Seminole pumpkin, but I'm gonna see what happens because they're delicious. I planted Seminole pumpkin there, no joke, 3 days ago. See the grass growing back? Welcome to Florida. this grass, and I live out on some land, so I don't have St. Augustine grass, which St. Augustine grass isn't supposed to be here anyways, but that's beside the point. The grass just grows back. I mean, it doesn't matter. The grass grows a mile a minute here, which if you've ever listened to or read David the Good, he talks about in tropics and subtropics, that's what happens, and that's why he doesn't fool with deep mulching and stuff like that, which I don't either. I've mulched in between. Here's some mulch here that I got from a local tree company. I've mulched in between these rows I've dug out here. There's the chives that I planted out here. Hopefully they do well. I want them to bunch up and well, they do bunch up, but I want them to get big and flower and all that sort of stuff because I want to try to attract. I'm doing anything I can to attract bees out here. And I've got, pardon the cardboard, but I'm putting in between the rows and the walking paths, I'm putting cardboard down. I should say my wife is, because my wife is doing it more than me. Putting cardboard down and then putting mulch on top of that. Here's some more chive, and here's the last bunch of chive. And I don't have anything planted here now, but I'm working on that. I planted, and I don't remember the name of these flowers, but I had them in a pot and I planted them here because I want to attract bees. And over here I've got a really sad looking southern high bush variety of blueberry, but hopefully it will bounce back since I planted it out here and it's not stuck in its little pot. Nothing planted over here, but I'll just give you, see, I've hoed that up. I have tilled this whole area. Now look at that. You can't even tell that I tilled it. It drives me insane. It absolutely drives me insane. But that's the annual garden. That's a work in progress. I have to work at it when I have the time, so I take little bites out of it. Look at all the Spanish needles out here. These are good native. They can be annoying because of this right here. These will stick to you, especially your clothes, but they attract butterflies and bees. You can actually eat the leaves, cook them down. I've never done it, but I've read that you can eat the leaves if you cook them down so it's not super bitter. I've got a lot of wildflowers out here. I could spend some time talking about that, but I'm not going to do that right now. There's an avocado tree. That is a Hass avocado tree. Some of these I need to do some weeding around, but I usually let the weeds grow around them, then I chop and drop it. Ice cream bananas. This started off as one tree. This tree right here was the mother tree, as I call it. Planted that one, and now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a newborn. And when I planted this mother tree, it was maybe this high, and now they're taller than me, which is not that big of a deal because I'm not very tall, but they're tall now, and I'm just waiting for them to set fruit. I think they're still too young. I've got here, as you can see, growing right there. This is an everbearing mulberry. See what I mean? I gotta come out. I just take either a bill hook or a pocket knife, and I come out and I hack around the weeds, and then I toss them at the base of the trees. And it acts as mulch, it acts as food. There's some lemongrass that I planted. The only reason I planted lemongrass was for mulch and for chop and drop food. And it grows like wildfire. It smells really nice. Here's a moringa tree, and funny thing about this moringa tree was it got nailed by a frost last winter, and it died back, and I kept cutting it back, and it just the trunk kept drying up, and I figured, well, it's just dead. So I cut it all the way down to the ground, and it didn't grow back, and I figured that was the end of that. And probably a month or so ago, all of a sudden, here it comes again. and it has been growing like crazy since then. See, it's got new growth coming out right there, got some right there. I mean, it's been growing like crazy. So I hope it's stronger now. Here's the bigger starfruit tree that I was talking about. It's probably about 5'5", 5'6" tall. So again, this was planted from seed. I have a friend who's got a starfruit tree, and he gives me starfruit quite a bit because it's just he and his wife, and they don't eat it all, so he gives them some to me. My kids love it, we love it. And I planted seeds, and there you go. Here is a cutting from a pomegranate. We'll see what it does. Pomegranate is touchy in Florida, but we'll see what happens. I'll come around over here. I got some pallets out there that I'm going to make compost piles with. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. This weedy mess over here has two things. One, you can see right here, that's sweet potato. Those are stupid easy to grow in Florida. If you're in Florida and you're not growing sweet potatoes, I don't know what's wrong with you. They're just dumb how easy it is to grow in Florida. And I mean, look at this. I don't weed it. I don't really take care of it, and they're still growing. And they're not as long as they would be because rabbits keep chewing them back. That's the only reason. In the middle here, I have a avocado, and I don't remember exactly what their name of it is, but it's the really big green ones, not the little Hass avocados. I planted a pit and got it to sprout, and avocados are not as tricky to sprout as people make it out. And then over here, I've got a papaya that I planted from seed. I don't really care if it grows because I'm not a huge fan of papaya, but we'll see what it does. And over here, I've got a taller moringa tree that I recently bought. And it seems to be that this is what moringa does. The bottom branches die. Whoops, scared a little lizard there. The bottom branches start to die and the leaves fall off and stuff, which is fine because it's fertilizer. But then you look at the top and it's starting to put new growth out. Now I have to, during winter, they do not like frost, so I'm going to have to mulch the mess out of the bottom. And then right here, it's dying. It's actually coming back because it was completely bare, but it's hard to keep it weeded, so I'm probably, and I may just let it go. That's a goji berry right here, this thing here, and they're pretty nasty when you eat them raw. It tastes like grass, but if you dry them, they're pretty good and they're nutritious, but I don't know. This right here is another really easy thing to grow in Florida. This is a loquat tree. My in-laws had this in their yard. They said they didn't want it. So they said they were just going to cut it down. And when I got it, it was like about that tall. It was very thin. And I said, well, I'll come dig it up. And I dug it up and I planted it in a pot just to get it established. And I thought it was going to die. And it hung on, and it is growing happily over here. Those are loquats are stupid easy to grow here also. This here is an acerola cherry, also called a Barbados cherry. You can see that it is blooming. This thing blooms. It's bloomed a bunch of times, but I can't get any bees to get over here to it. So we've gotten no cherries this year, which makes me really upset. Because if the bees would have found it, we would have had, I guarantee you, at least a gallon-sized bag full of cherries by now. Makes really good fruit. It's pretty sour, but it doesn't taste terrible, especially if you let it get really, really red. And it is extremely high in vitamin C. Got some bee balm planted over here. It's just kind of a mess, but is what it is. And here comes the Spanish needles again. They just infiltrate wherever they want. Tassel flower right there, some more wildflowers. Right here I have a Meyer lemon tree. It's pretty small, but it seems to be happy. I need to hack at the weeds again, but it's got new growth coming out. but it seems to be happy where it is. Right here under this pile of grass, because I just mowed last night around here and the grass was pretty high. That's excuse me for doing that, I've got gnats flying around me. That is another loquat tree right there, tiny one. And this is the big pomegranate that I bought, and I took a cutting, and that's what that little pomegranate back there was. But you can see, I don't know if it's going to make it, but that's okay. I'll see what it does, and if it doesn't make it, it doesn't make it. Pomegranates can be touchy in Florida, so yeah. But here's another of the winged yam going up this. This is a cherry laurel tree, and I hate this tree. It's absolutely useless. I mean, the birds might like the cherries when it makes cherries, but other than that, it's useless. You can't do anything with the cherries. They're poisonous, and it's just, I wish I could cut it down, but I don't feel like hiring someone, and it's a big enough tree, I don't want to do it myself. So I'm using it as a living trellis for the yam. I planted the yam down here. You can see down there where it's planted. And it actually made this second sprout here. But this is the original one. It went up, went up, went up, and it looked like it stopped here. And I thought, oh man, I wanted it to go all the way up the tree. And I was trying to get it to go up, trying to get it to go up. And I wasn't paying attention because it's all the way up there. It just happened to go across the back there, and I didn't see it. And it went all the way up, and it's all the way like halfway up. It's kind of a bifurcated trunk, and it's all the way up there. That's what I wanted it to do. So these I planted them this year, so I'll probably save it for, and give it another year or so to make some really big roots. Over here I got pineapple. I'm planning on, in this area here, just a little bit as I go along, clearing it out, planting all the pineapples out here, kind of having a little pineapple corner. That plant right there is giving us 2 pineapples, and even a couple of these are tops from pineapples that came off of that plant. They're small, but they're tasty, and if you have enough of them, who cares if they're small? So that is about it. Right over there, that red plant, that's a cranberry hibiscus. It is struggling. A frost got to it last year, and it's just not wanting to. The little bit that remains is doing okay, but it's not doing very well. So I'm debating on cutting it completely down to the ground, see if it comes back. If not, oh well. We didn't use it as much as I thought we would. But that is it. That is it for now. I will be planting more. All of this out here will be a food forest. I'm going to plant the fig out here. I'm going to plant the chocolate pudding fruit out here. I have on my front porch, I started a mame sapote, which those are delicious if you can get your hands on one. They are a true tropical though, so I don't know how well it'll do here. But I'm going to plant it. Well, I have it started, so I'm going to protect it through this coming winter and then plant it out and see what happens. And then I've got some sand pear cuttings that I'm trying to root, and a calamandan cutting that I'm trying to root, and I'll be putting those out here. And I'll put the mango out here. I'll put the other star fruit out here, and the Jamaican cherry, the Pakistani mulberry, the tangerine. Of course, I'm afraid to put the tangerine out here because it will probably get greening and die. If you don't know about greening in Florida, look it up. It has just about wrecked our citrus industry, which has always been a very big industry here in Florida. I think it's just now starting to come back, but they're having to do a ton of work to keep it going. But I'll plant stuff out here. I add things little bit by little bit. It's just because of money, time, and what have you. I have to take little bites off of things. So this will be a food forest full of trees eventually. I have no rhyme or reason to how I plant the trees. I plant them, and if I don't like something, then I'll cut it down. If I plant stuff too close, I'll just try to trim it to keep it from crowding each other out. But I'm not the kind of person to sit down and make up some big scientific way to plant things. I just don't want to take the time. It's not that I can't do it, it's just I'm lazy and I don't want to do it. I don't want to take the time. So I just stick things in. And the annual garden, I will continue to add more to that. And I'm going to put some more yard-long beans in here. I'm going to put some, I hope the Seminole pumpkins grow. I'm going to put some greens in here, but I'm waiting a little bit longer because it's still pretty warm here. And that is about it. Thanks for watching.